In our last episode, we found a mini raider boss named Rock Salt, killed her, and took her stuff, all in a day's work. But at the end of the sewer, we just found a door that led back out to the Capital Wasteland. And so we turned around, retraced our steps, and re-emerged back into Georgetown. It's time to finally explore this place that can only be accessed by metro stations to see what treasures are waiting for us. Heading up the stairs, we can try to figure out what to do next. Over that way is Canal Street with the entrance back to the Potomac Tunnel. There's the ruin with super mutants. Crap, they saw us.
Squash! Smash!
Well, maybe we can use these mines. Heading into the room, we can place some gingerly around. Oh, but they start coming for us. Ooh, gotcha. Taking out the shoddy. Is he dead? Wait, no, he's still alive. Switching back to the frag mines. We could try to make good use of them. Ooh, but that guy is shooting from the other side. Let's go around and place more mines. And it worked. Oh no, that was a centaur. Doggone it. Stinking centaurs, always messing things up. All right, there is at least one more in there. Heard him screaming, but peering in, our Pip-Boy tells us there are two. Looks like he's on an upper platform, and the only staircase we can find is against the western wall. Creeping up the staircase, we can do our best with our limited stealth to avoid this guy. We see him walking in the opposite direction across the way. Is it too much to hope that I can sneak behind this guy? Yes, it is too much to hope. He sees us, but we can hide behind this wall for a moment and use our Chinese assault rifle to fire at him from mid-range. That leaves one more, and the Pip-Boy marker is telling us that he's actually outside the building, peering through these windows. There he is! I was just wasting too much ammo, so hopping through the window, we can race up with the shotgun. And he's done. If you're noticing an FPS drop during these battles, that's not your computer, that's me. I'm not sure why right now, but for some reason during battles, my FPS tanks. Probably has something to do with a setting that I turned on. I'm gonna try and figure it out in time for my next video, but just bear in mind, for the remainder of this video, some battles may appear a bit hitchy. All right, well, battle over. Back to smooth, buttery FPS. We hopped out of a window here. Let's see where that put us. Well, turning around, we see that this mutant was hiding in some rubble behind the ruin that we climbed up to explore, and this is a bit of a dead end. A bunch of concrete blocks our path back towards the canal, and the buildings around us are ruined with no alleyways or entrances. However, turning around across from the ruin with the mutants, we do find a Pulaski preservation shelter, and inside, we find a pantry. Sugar bombs on the ground surrounded by beer bottles, some empty, some full, railway spikes on the ground, and then a box nearby with a Nuka-Cola Quantum inside. Fancy lad snack cakes and cherry bombs. Moving out of this little alley, we find a storefront with a still functional door. Hey, let's see, what was this called? A Cup of Joe? No, that's the name of the coffee shop right next door to it. And A Cup of Joe is all blocked up. We can't get in there. So what's this place called? Oh, look above, right. Cornucopia Fresh Groceries. Okay, it's a grocery store. Just outside, we find a shelf filled with foods, pork and beans, potato crisps, Blamco mac and cheese, and more fancy lad snack cakes. We can use this food to heal on up after that fight, and then head through the front door to the grocer.
Galaxy News Radio, and I'm your host, Three Dog.
We hear the dulcet vocal tones of a 1-3 dog. His voice still giving hope to wastelanders out there. Turning right, we find a checkout counter, a few bottle caps on top of it, some Mentats, and a rad roach on the ground. Moving behind the counter, we can turn the radio off. Sorry, 3 Dog, I love you, but I'm talking here. There is a first aid box against the wall. We find some cigarettes in the sink and on the ground. The cash register is empty. The beverage cooler is mostly empty. We find an average locked floor safe on the ground. We can put on our utility jumpsuit to bump our lockpicking up high enough to be able to pick it. Inside, we find some bottle caps and a stealth boy. Moving to the aisles, we can loot some cram on top of one. Round a corner to kill another roach. The rest of these aisles are mostly empty. Pots and pans, some scrap. The liquor cabinet is still mostly full of liquor, and we find a couple of Nuka-Cola in a cola cabinet, and that's about it for the grocer. I turned around for one more look before leaving. I saw a wooden box on top of the liquor cabinet, but there wasn't anything inside. So heading out, we can arrive back at Georgetown to continue exploring to the left, where we find another little shop. Let's see, there's a sign outside of it. What does this say? Trust the King for all your TV and radio needs. Oh, it was a Radiation King appliance store. The door is still working, so we can head inside.
You may want to pop in and see.
Oh, wait. Oh, I thought that was a raider for a minute there. Looks like a scavenger. Another fan of 3 Dog. We can hunt down the radio to turn it off for now.
Bad it
Hey.
hurts.
And then have a chat with our scavenger here.
Yeah?
She has much of the same dialogue as all of the other wasteland merchants we find. We can use her to sell our junk and buy anything she has that we want. She doesn't really have anything that I want, though. Well, not to explore her little home. There's a box with knives and wrenches on the ground next to a jukebox.
Oh, come on. Pay more attention to what you're doing.
Well, I'm sorry, lady, but I gotta loot. Look, I'll put it all back when I'm done, I promise. Exploring the desk here, we find all of the containers empty, though there is a box on top of the filing cabinet, and inside, hiding under a stack of pre-war money, is some Mentats. And it's not marked owned. We can loot it without it being considered stealing. I guess the logic is that maybe the owner who lives here now never even knew this was there. Moving into the restroom, we again find a box on top of the toilet. Inside, buried beneath some Abraxo cleaner, are 2 stim packs, again set to unowned, so we can loot them without stealing. Back into the room, we can explore her little bedroom here. She has a modest mattress on the ground, some boxes lying around, broken TVs, of course. There is a box with foodstuffs inside, but it is set to own, so we won't steal it. And then a shelf with minor scrap beneath some radios. And that's it for Radiation King. We can head back out to Georgetown. But this is the last little shop that we can explore on this row. We find a tipped-over Nuka-Cola machine, but the street ends in rubble with a wrecked car, which means we've got to turn back. All right, now to Georgetown Avenue. There's the building with the mutants that we killed, and here we find a bit of an outside patio, eating area. The glass is all broken, but there's no door inside. We can't explore that. And this brings us back to the tepid sewer. Now to fully explore this ruin, we can loot the dead. This entire bottom floor is mostly empty. Taking the staircase up to the next floor, we can skirt the perimeter of this wall. The main floor is mostly crumbled in. We find a box hiding behind a pillar with Rad-X inside. Then at the very end of this scrap wood walkway, we find an ammo canister against a wall with missiles inside, and a shelf bedecked with all sorts of stuff. Scrap, lunch boxes, baseballs, crafting components. There is a stealth boy and a Grognak the Barbarian on a shelf, some Psycho on the shelf beneath it, then 2 ammunition boxes on the bottom shelf, each with a healthy stack of ammunition. But that's it for the ruin, so heading back down to the ground and again returning to the entrance to the tepid sewer, we can explore behind it. Beneath a pre-war bust, we find a garbage can with a Nuka-Cola inside, and we again arrive back at the canal. That way leads to the tunnel to Foggy Bottom and our path to the south, and that way leads to the tunnel to the Potomac, but off in the distance, we do see a bridge. I was curious. I wanted to see what was across that bridge. So getting closer, sure enough, we can cross it. There are ruined cars here. We find an assault rifle by the cars, and we can move out a little nook here to explore the other side of the canal. Here we are overlooking the door to the Potomac Tunnel, and nearby we find another assault rifle with a grenade box and a first aid box. But continuing east, we arrive at a dead end. The path south from here is blocked in with rubble, and from here we have to jump. Into the drink and up a ramp. We find ourselves forced to move back east up Canal Street. We arrive back at the entrance to the Foggy Bottom Station. That was Canal Street we just explored. We are now about to explore Bradley Place. Time to move south. Next to the bus stop where we killed the mutant in our last episode are two mailboxes with minor scrap inside. Continuing south, we pass by an alley. And this is not a dead end. In fact, it looks like it goes back there quite a ways. Moving down the alley, we see a bit of a garden with white picket fences and a mutant. Oh crap, he saw me, and he's coming. We can grab some frag mines. Oh. But the geometry here confused him. He went west down another alley. It must connect back to Bradley Place. So, retracing our steps, we can meet him there with some frag mines. And down he goes. Okay, so that alley goes off for a ways, but we need to finish exploring Bradley Place. So continuing south down the street, we immediately pass a building to the left. There's a placard outside the building. It's a little hard to see in the glare, but in the right light, it reads, The McClellan Family, 2026 Bradley Place. No solicitors, please. It's a private home, and it must belong to a fairly wealthy family. The door is not blocked, so we can enter the townhome. The interior is pitch black. Turning on our light, we see a staircase leading up and a baby carriage near the door. The living room is small and meager. We find a copy of Lying Congressional Style on a nearby table. We could go upstairs, across the room to enter another room, or turn right to enter the kitchen. In the kitchen, we find a bunch of cutlery and dishes and plates scattered around. There is a fridge that we can loot, chock full of pre-war food, but also some crunchy mute fruit and squirrel stew. I doubt they were eating that before the apocalypse. I guess someone must have come in and stocked the fridge. But that's it for the kitchen, so back to the living room. We can turn right to enter this bedroom at the foot of the stairs, and immediately we recognize it as a child's room. There's a bike on the ground, and on the top bunk is a child's skeleton still clutching a teddy bear. This child faced the apocalypse lying in his bed. This is a bunk bed. Presumably there was another child. We saw the stroller by the door, but a baby wouldn't be sleeping on the bottom bunk. Perhaps they got this bunk bed in anticipation of that baby becoming a child. In the corner, we find a music stand and a chair. This child was taking music lessons, and either the child was sickly and needed to sit often to practice, or the child was playing an instrument that required that he sit, like a tuba, I suppose. We've painted as much of a backstory for this child as we can, so heading out, we can move up the stairs to find the master bedroom. But the master bedroom is empty. There isn't even a dresser here. Pretty meager living arrangements for a family with such a placard outside their front door. Now, behind the stairs, we do find a door, and inside, it's a Mr. Handy unit. It's not hostile, but it also doesn't appear to be destroyed. Instead, it looks like it's simply inactive. We can't interact with it, but on a table next to it is a terminal. General Atomics International In-Home Servant Interface 3.1. Welcome home, Mrs. McClellan. Please choose a task. We have 5 options here, including deactivate the unit, which just sends the Mr. Handy back to this charging dock. But instead of doing that, we'll explore the other 4. First, we can walk Muffy.
How may I serve you, master? Not that I really want to.
Ooh, that last line always sends shivers down my spine. A Mr. Handy that expresses a desire not to serve? Could this Mr. Handy started to have developed a preliminary AI over the past 200 years? At any rate, the Mr. Handy beelines straight for the front door and steps outside. He then goes down the alleyway we explored and right to the gardens with the white picket fences. Then he stops by a ruined fence and appears to get agitated. If we get close to where he stopped, we find the corpse of Muffy. But then he attacks.
Oh. You stand still.
Does this Mr. Handy think we're responsible for killing Muffy? I didn't want to have to kill him, so racing inside the house, we can see if he follows us. He does.
Still. Well, that's it then.
Oh, Muffy's dead. Heading back outside, we can go down the alleyway and get a better look at this dead dog behind the house. This is really weird because presumably it's been 200 years, and yet the state of decay on this dog's corpse is, well, it's not that advanced. Muffy appears to have died recently. The only explanation I can come up with is somehow Muffy became ghoulified after the apocalypse, lived out his life inside the family home for almost 200 years before escaping outside only to be killed by the super mutants. But then again, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Reloading a save, we can explore the next option, which is to pick up a grocery order. And just like last time, the Mr. Handy jumps up and walks out the door. But this time, instead of going down the alley, the Mr. Handy makes for Canal Street. We can follow close behind, and as we approach the staircase by the canal, the Mr. Handy comes under fire.
Have at thee! By God, if I had hands, I'd strangle the life out of you!
I actually tried this several times, but I didn't have the ammunition necessary to kill this really difficult super mutant master. A highly armored super mutant master and a companion spawn with a minigun and an assault rifle. Ouch! I tried to save the Mr. Handy's life, but no matter what I did, they kept killing him. If, however, we somehow save the Mr. Handy's life, the encounter is a little disappointing. He walks up the stairs towards that cornucopia grocery store. Then he meanders through the ruins. If we hadn't cleared it before, he would have aggroed all those mutants, but there he stops. Instead of actually arriving at the grocery store, he appears to get caught up on this rubble. And that's what I thought had happened, so I tried using console commands to move him. I then tried nudging him into the right spot, clear of the rubble, so he could continue on his way. But all he did after that is make his way to this lamppost, where he stopped. And here he stayed. But you know, this is a handy way to send backup into this area in case we need it to fight off the mutants. Reloading a save, we can go back to the terminal and this time choose Read the Children a Bedtime Poem. And this confirms that there was more than one child, either another small child who died outside the home, whose body we didn't find in the bunk bed, or the robot read stories to the infant and the child. With this option, the Mr. Handy hops up and moves to the kid's bedroom.
There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pool singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire, and not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone.
The poem the Mr. Handy recites is called There Will Come Soft Rains by Sarah Teasdale. She wrote this poem during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, just after the German springtime offensive during World War I. She gave the poem a subtitle when she published it again years later, and the subtitle was Wartime. It's an anti-war poem written, I think, to remind mankind that despite all of our technology, our tanks, our bombs, our petty little wars are ultimately meaningless in the greater scheme of things. Nature won't remember them. Nature will thrive beyond them. And even if we wiped ourselves out, there wouldn't be anyone left to miss us. A bit bleak for a child's bedtime story, don't you think? And not exactly fitting in this universe. In this universe, 200 years after the apocalypse, there are no wild plum trees. There are no robins with fiery bellies. There are no more frogs in the pools. The nuclear fallout saw to that. But this entire scene, this entire house, has a further reference. It's a reference to Ray Bradbury's 1950 short story, There Will Come Soft Rains, which shares the same name as Sarah Teasdale's poem. The short story is about a single house in California that manages to survive a nuclear apocalypse. All the people in the house are dead, but the robots and automated services inside the house survive. These robots, unaware that life has essentially ended, continue with their pre-programmed tasks. The family dog, which initially survived the blast, made its way back into the house, whereupon it succumbed to radiation poisoning. A couple hours later, the robots dispose of the body. The name of the family that lived in this house was the McClellan family. In the story, one of the robots reads Mrs. McClellan her favorite poem, which was There Will Come Soft Rains. We even find a connection on the placard outside the house. In the first edition of Ray Bradbury's story, the events take place in the year 2026, and on the placard outside the house, we find it on 2026 Bradley Place. Could Bradley Place be a reference to Ray Bradbury? These manifold references make this one of the best and most fitting Easter eggs I have yet found in the Fallout franchise. Back in the terminal, we can try the final option, home security mode. You'd think this might turn the Mr. Handy hostile, but it doesn't. Instead, the Mr. Handy heads outside. It then moves into the middle of the street, and here it stays. I think I'll leave him here in case I need to lure any super mutants into this area. Heading back inside the house, we can sleep in the bunk bed with the corpse above us, not at all freaky, and then head back outside. Moving south down the street, we see the other alleyway the mutant came down when he circled the building to get us, and turning south, we see that we can actually walk through this rubble. There is something else down there, but you know what? We've started exploring this alley, let's finish exploring the alley. Moving into the gardens behind the houses, we see a couple of tables with scrap. There's Muffy's corpse, but there's really nothing of interest. However, in the back garden of one house covered in advertising posters, we find a door leading in. In front of the door is a pressure plate that we can deactivate. Doing so, we gain experience and we see what it was attached to. A pitching machine. Looks like this thing would have shot a bunch of baseballs at us had we tripped it. There's nothing in the ruined bathroom, and moving to the living room, we find the window boarded up. We can peer through tiny cracks, but we don't see much. Looking towards the door, we find a bear trap just outside. But then... Yo! Way to make an entrance, guys! Yeah! Oh, I'm not stepping out there. No, sir. No way. Just gonna wait for it.
for you.
God, these guys. It's like they get harder each time I level up. Well, we know there's at least one more out there. Somebody shot a missile at us. Heading up the stairs, we can explore this top floor. Here we find the body of a raider. On his body is a sniper rifle, and next to the body is an ammo canister. We can use the sniper rifle to repair the one we have, and at last we have some more sniper rifle ammunition. But peering out the window, we don't really see any enemies. There's a fire below us, a bunch of smoke, and it's dark. I ended up sleeping to the wrong time. Well, if there are more mutants out there, I am just not seeing them. We got hurt in the last battle, and it's the wrong time of day. Visibility is low, so I think I'm gonna go sleep. Heading back down the alleyway, we can go back into the townhome, head back to the bunk bed, and sleep until the right time of day. Now that we are fully healed and that the sun is out, we can head back down the alley to enter what we now realize is a large parking lot. We see ruined buildings off to the left, ruined buildings off to the right, and the Pulaski Preservation Shelter. We'll go clockwise, moving to the left. Oh, there he is! What? How did he get up there? They're racing against this wall so we can't shoot us with the missile launcher. We can take a stim pack to heal up our broken limb. We see a planter in the middle of this square and some ammo canisters peeking out of it. Peering back to make sure he doesn't spot us. We can loot these ammo canisters to see if they have any good ammunition. Flamer fuel, okay. Frag grenades, fine. And frag mines, and a couple of stim packs, all right. I couldn't get a bead on this guy. I didn't know which level he was at. It doesn't appear to be on that level. He must be on the one above, but he's not sticking out. I can't see him. How to do this? Wait, I've got it. Grabbing some frag grenades. We can try to move closer. Oh, but he saw us. Healing on up. We can move to the edge of this building so that he can't shoot at us. And then lob him. Yeah, that's right, guy. I see you up there. Yeah, you can't get me from up there with your missile launcher, can ya? Eat it. It's a hot potato. Yeah, don't let it touch the ground. Oh, yeah. Well, the problem with killing him this way is it keeps his body up there. I tried detonating these cars for the kick of it. But they wouldn't even catch on fire. These things always explode when you don't want them to, and never when you do. His missile launcher went flying, though. Maybe we'll find it later. Heading to the parking lot, we can see if he dropped any body parts so we could loot his inventory, but no, I couldn't find any. But navigating between the cars, we do eventually find the missile launcher, but it weighs 20 pounds. I just didn't want to have to carry around that weight. Maybe I'll make room for one later. We don't find anything else hiding between these cars, and exploring the far corners of this parking lot, we don't find any other containers or any other path out of here. So moving towards that Pulaski Preservation Shelter, we find a bus stop and a copy of the metro system map. Getting close, we can use the opportunity to reorient ourselves. Okay, Georgetown, that's where we are. There's the exit on Canal Street that goes to the 014-B Potomac Tunnel. There's the entrance we found on Foggy Bottom Station, and that was the metro that led to the tepid sewer. Looks like there are two more metro systems here, Georgetown East and Georgetown South. Well, let's see if we can find them before deciding where to go next. We don't have to go very far. Heading behind the bus stop, we see the station on the other side of this Pulaski Preservation Shelter. Opening it up, it's empty, however. Moving towards the station, we discover Georgetown East, but the station is unmarked. We have no idea where this is gonna go. Looks like we have to head inside to find out. Oh crap, more mutants! Heading to the Pulaski Preservation Shelter, we can close it up to find shelter. After a moment, we can step outside. All right, I think we might have lost them. Creeping forward, we can take a look at the street signs above us. All right, we're at the corner of Donahue and Blanchard Boulevard. Looks like Blanchard goes towards those super mutants, and then Donahue, well, no idea yet. Oh, I'll shoot. Racing to this building, we can hide behind this wall. They're coming this way. Turning around, we can move down Donahue towards another metro station? Well, the ruins of one at any rate. And then hide behind this wall. on, explode car! Crap! That's it! Flamer! Yeah. Sorry again about the FPS issues there. Don't worry, I'll fix it before the next video. These stinking cars, they never explode when you want them to. Had it exploded, it would have destroyed that guy. Ah, dang it. Well, we find ourselves outside another metro station, again unmarked. Heading forward, though, we see that this one's seen better days. Looks like the station itself is completely obliterated, revealing only the tracks beneath it. Well, all right, one thing at a time. We'll come back and explore this in a bit. At least now we know where both other Georgetown stations are. I wanted to know where those super mutants came from. So, following Blanchard Street to the south, we can round the corner to find La Maison Beauregard. Beauregard? Voirade. I don't know. Whatever. Well, sounds fancy. I wonder if it still is. Maybe it was a restaurant. We find tables on the other side of red tape here, but the tables are mostly empty. Well, nothing for it. Let's head inside. We arrive in the lobby. There's a door to the left and a door to the right. As soon as we turn left...
Now try and hide!
Oh, right. Okay, well, that's on me. I probably should have healed up first. But man, my health is really low, and I just don't want to use up my stim packs on this one fight. Maybe I can be really clever and creative and get through this without using too many stim packs. Let's try the flamer. Okay, well, that's a no. I know. We'll just toss a bunch of grenades into the room.
Away from there! Now!
What? Hey! How did he get a missile launcher? Was that the same guy? Oh, I was just straight up cheated there. Alright, fine. I'm gonna use some stinking stim packs. Well, let's try throwing some frag mines down. Put one here. Let's cripple those limbs.
And hide from there! Bleed and die!
Hey, where'd you go? Hey. Come on, you gonna step on it? There we go.
Wounded!
Yes! All right. Any more? See if we can use more of these mines. What? No! Whoa! He snuck up behind me. All right, you stinking super mutants. Time to pull out the bottle cap mine. That's right. I've got one. I'm not afraid to use it. All right, more frag mines. Let's get those bad boys. I'm just gonna litter them all over the place. Oh, that's right. You didn't like that, did you?
Got away!
Oh, okay, well, at least I've got this wall to hide behind. Oh, shoot.
Gonna eat your arms!
Oh, you gotta get him first. I'm hiding behind a pillar. Ooh, I think my mine's worked. Can we burn him before he reloads? Did I win? I won, didn't I? Oh, God. Yes, we got him. We got them both. Oh, I hate missile launchers, man. I hate them. Well, after looting the dead, we can explore what the heck this is. This ground floor is mostly empty. We find one table and chair in the corner, and then moving to reception, we find one cash register, and on the ground, a copy of U.S. Army 30 Handy Flamethrower Recipes, with some bottles of beer. But the rest of this ground floor is caved in with rubble. There is a mattress here. Perhaps it was a furniture store. Moving to the loft level, we find a bar. Okay, so it was a restaurant? Behind the counter is a refrigerator. We hear Three Dog on the radio. We can turn him off for now. We find the skeleton of a guy whose solution to the apocalypse was to drink himself to death. He sits here at the bar 200 years later, surrounded by his empties, and they're all whiskey. At least he had taste. The bartender lies here on the ground, also clutching whiskey and a bottle of Nuka-Cola. It gets a bit darker, though, because the guy who presumably drank himself to death is clutching a .32 caliber revolver. Perhaps he got drunk and offed himself. Behind us on the liquor cabinet, we do find one Nuka-Cola Quantum. Examining the fridge, we walk away with a bunch of pre-war foods and crunchy mute fruit. We can go through this to heal ourselves on up after that battle. We find this guy's pelvis and legs lying on the ground beneath him on the other side. And then moving to the opposite side of this loft level, we find a billiards table. All right, so it was some sort of French-themed swanky club. On the pool table are 3 missiles, of course, a mini nuke, 2 stim packs, and a stealth boy. All right, not a bad haul. And with that, we've fully explored La Maison Beauregard. Well, with this corner of Georgetown clear, we have but to go west down Donahue. Here we see that Donahue ends at Bradley Place, and here we find that other metro station. I shudder to think what sort of munitions caused the entire station to become obliterated. Heading down this earthen ramp, we discover Georgetown South. There are barrels buried in the dirt here, but they are not emitting radiation. We can't actually interact with the gate, but in the wall we do find a door leading to the Georgetown/the Mall Metro. On the other side, we arrive in a hallway covered in junk and litter. We find a toolbox against the wall, and then moving through the door, we arrive by the turnstiles. The door to the gate is blocked in with rubble, as we already know. It's completely missing topside. However, we can still access an Etotronic on the wall. It strangely enough has a conductor inside. Weird. And some Dandy Boy apples. Oh! Great, we got ghouls. Moving inside the ticket booth, we do find a cash register, just has pre-war money inside. Then moving towards the restrooms, we can examine each stall. We find one skeleton lying on the john with some psycho at his feet, but the rest of the stalls are empty. Back out towards the turnstiles, we can head down the ramp to the waiting platform. Here we find a ghoul waiting at the top of the escalator. We can sneak forward until... Oh, he's got a buddy. Let's wait for him at the top of this escalator. And that, I think, about does it for this metro station. Turning around, we find a skeleton sitting on a bench. Imagine being trapped in a metro when the bombs go off. What a place for a grave. Beneath him is a wooden box with a microscope inside and a fission battery. Perhaps he was a student, a teacher, or a scientist. There is a book right next to him. Maybe he was on his way to class. Nearby is a suitcase with a camera and some darts inside. And here we find another skeleton with all of his limbs detached. Scattered around this guy is a bunch of cooking utensils, a giant kitchen knife, a frying pan, a spatula, and a bunch of plates. A chef on his way to his kitchen to make breakfast for the people of D.C. when the bombs went off. Peering over the banister, we can look at the train station below, but we don't see any lights, and we don't see any more enemies. On another bench towards the next set of turnstiles is a box with a stim pack and some buff out inside. Before we move to the turnstiles, we can head down the escalators to explore the train platform. Here we find more interesting skeletons. This guy was having a dandy time. Look at him all stretched out, just enjoying his day. Perhaps he was a journalist. There was a camera nearby. He's got a book, but then strangely a Chinese pistol right next to him. Could he have been a Chinese sympathizer? Disturbingly, we find a baby carriage. Thankfully, it's empty. And then on the wall behind us, we find a poster. GNR. Tune in now to Galaxy News Radio in Washington, D.C. 103.8 on your radio dial. Weather, sports, news, and traffic. And remember, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., it's Mornings with Mariel. But the right tunnel against this wall is blocked in with ruined train cars and rubble. We do find metro signs on the wall, but they're all rubbed out. We never find out what station this is. Leaping to the center platform, we find more skeletons, but not enough props scattered around them to deduce their identity. The tunnel on the other side of this track, blocked in with rubble. Moving to the next track, this tunnel also blocked in with rubble. And then moving to the opposite side of this track, you guessed it, blocked in with rubble. Well, that's it for this nameless train station. Before we move on, we can take a brief moment to better appreciate the beautiful set design. Moving through the second turnstiles, we can head up a ramp where we find yet another ticket booth. Here we find another copy of Chinese Army Spec Ops Training Manual lying by a cash register. How many Chinese spies were there in Washington, D.C.? On a wall, we find a first aid kit with, hey, some radaway inside. All right, finally get to reduce my rads a bit. This level of the platform is equally as destroyed as the last. The Nuka-Cola machine is completely consumed with rubbish. We do find an Edotronic with some pre-war food, and after looting it, we can head out the gate to arrive at the mall. Heading up the escalators, at last, we've arrived at the mall. The mall is huge and fascinating, and I've covered quite a few places here already, but I haven't actually covered the mall itself proper. So it will demand its own video, but not today. We're gonna have to find our way back here later. Wait, what's that? Oh, great, dogs! Running down the escalator! Turning around. Yoo-hoo! Keep running! Whew. All right, well, yeah, we weren't gonna explore that anyway. You can have the mall, dogs. I'll be back later. Just wait for me. Passing through the turnstiles, we can cross the platform and move back up the ramp towards Georgetown. Climbing our way out of this pit, we arrive back on Donahue. Well, that leaves one road left to explore, but as we look down the road, hey, it's that Mr. Handy. This is the other side of that rubble. We're standing in it, and this is all that's here, the metro station to the mall. So with that, effectively, we've explored all of Georgetown. I walked around in the rubble a bit and by this building to see if I can find anything else, but there's nothing else here. So that leaves only one thing left to do to cross Georgetown off our list, and that's to head back through the alley, back to the parking lot, and find out where this last metro station goes. At the bottom of the escalator, we find a coffee maker with a pot and a box here. Then moving towards the gate, we find a box on the ground before the gate with some Radex inside, 2 bottles of it, and when ready, we can open the door. Moving down the ramp, we can move around the ticket booth and peer on in. Nothing here. So moving down to the waiting platform, we find it empty. Huh. There's a metro marker here with a lit lantern at its base. It's not named though. We see a ramp out of the station across the platform, and then peering over the banister to the wreckage below, we find a really interesting propaganda poster on the wall. It's a rare one. I don't see it very often in the Capital Wasteland. Stop the Red Menace. Enlist. It's a recruitment poster for the military, really preying on our fear of communism. Towards the ramp out, we find another metro marker with another lantern by it. Taking the escalators down, we find another metro marker here with a bunch of mattresses surrounding it. Almost looks like a raider den, but sans the raiders. We find some squirrel on a stick here, a couple of ammo canisters beneath a table, but then... Wait, what? Oh, it's just up there. There's nothing up there. A raider dog? Well, he runs off and gets away, climbing up after him.
It's go time. We got a bleeder.
Okay, now where the stink is that dog? Where are you, mutt? I'm coming for you. Hey, there he is. Well, our raider dog got stuck on the bench there, but I guess I'm not going to complain about that one. But wait a minute. Wait, this isn't even right. I cleared this entire platform. There was nothing up here, and the raiders clearly came from the direction of Georgetown. This has got to be a scripted event. Anytime a player comes down the escalator to arrive at the raider camp, the raiders spawn and attack. Tricky. Well, after looting all of the raiders and repairing our gear, we can finish exploring this raider camp. The grenade box is locked with an easy lock we can pick. In the next, we find 5.56mm ammunition. On the table is an assault rifle with 2 magazines of assault rifle ammunition. By one of the raider beds is a box filled with 2 bottles of Nuka-Cola. We can sleep in one of the raider beds to heal on up, and then explore the rest of the station. This one really stands out because against the wall between the 2 tunnels is some sort of pre-war metro sign made of letters. Presumably it would have told us what station this was, and yet some of the letters are missing, and the ones that remain make it difficult to guess what this should have been. It's difficult to see all of the remaining letters by standing on the ground, but if we stand at just the right angle and in the right light, we see what's left on the wall. We've got 2 words on 2 lines, T space R-A, and then we've got either 2, maybe 3 spaces before another R. Then we've got a floating A, and on the next line, M-E-T with a missing letter and a floating O. Well, our quick deductive skills are telling us that the last word must be metro, and yet we don't appear to have the letters necessary to spell metro. If we push the O up, we get the O in metro, but that floating A doesn't fit in metro. It's got to go in the top word. Which letters are missing? Well, if we look around on the ground, we find a few of the missing letters. In the rubble pile directly beneath the sign, we find the letters C and G buried. The G against the wall, the C beneath the train. But if we keep hunting and hop on top of this train car, we find the letter E just lying here on top. But this still doesn't give us the R we need to spell metro. And the developers played us dirty here. The R is there, but it's hiding. Toggling the camera, we find the R under the train car. That gives us what we need to spell metro. Now we've got C, G, and E to spell whatever this is. Could it be Terrag-car metro? Terrak-gar metro? The A couldn't have slipped down there from the position of the T, so it either needs to be right next to the A or sandwiched between one or more letters. There has to be a vowel after the T. The only vowel we find is E, so it's got to be Terra, Gakar, Kagar, Kagar, Gakar. You know what? I think I might be wasting my time here. The frustrating thing about this little puzzle is there doesn't appear to even be an answer. Terragakar Metro, Terrakagar Metro. I even tried matching it with real-life metro stations in DC that begin with the letter T, but there are only 4 of them: Tacoma, which is in the game, Tenleytown, which is mentioned in the game, Twinbrook, and Tyson's Corner, none of which match the letters we find here. Yeah, it's not making sense. But here we find a situation similar to the last one. The tunnel against this wall on the left track is blocked in with a train toppled over on its side. The tunnel against this wall on the right track is blocked in with rubble. Moving to the other side of the train tracks, we again find illuminated metro signs, but these also are rubbed out. No idea what they say. The tunnel at the other end of the track filled in with rubble. Crossing the tracks to the other side, we find this tunnel blocked in as well. So like the last, this station only serves as a conduit to ferry us to the next destination using the waiting platform. Back to the top of the escalator, we can move towards the second turnstiles, which appear to be gone. Instead, we find a bunch of cinder blocks moving up the ramp. We see that this one is even worse than all of the others. The ticket booth is tilted to the side, half buried in rubble. Rounding a corner, we do find one Nuka-Cola machine that we can loot and an Itotronic on the wall, filled with potato crisps, a stim pack, and Mentats. Before leaving this unnamed metro, however, we can pause for a moment to enjoy its dark beauty. When ready, we can climb up the lamp to arrive at Pennsylvania Avenue. Hey, we made it right outside the White House. At the top of the escalator, we can round a corner to see a firefight going on between the Brotherhood of Steel and someone. By the time we get there, the enemies are all dead. We see the silhouette of the Capitol building off in the distance. There is a table behind the sandbag barricade covered in first aid kits and ammo canisters, but it's all set to owned. We can't loot any of this. I came here briefly when I started my series on Broken Steel because we actually have to go through the White House to get to the presidential metro that we use as part of the DLC. Creeping close, we discover the White House Plaza, but interestingly, this early in the game, can't actually start Broken Steel at this time, which of course makes sense considering the theme of Broken Steel. At any rate, even though we've been to the White House, we have not explored Pennsylvania Avenue, but we'll have to come back here at another time. I'm thinking the best place to go next is Dupont Circle. Here in Georgetown, we explored everything we could. We found a path leading to Pennsylvania Avenue. We found a path leading to the mall. But back at Foggy Bottom, we found a path leading to Dupont Circle, and we didn't explore that yet. Also, there's a pathway from Foggy Bottom to Metro Central, but I have a feeling we'll find our way back to Metro Central at many other times. So, putting a pin in Pennsylvania Avenue, putting a pin in the mall, and putting a pin in Metro Central, we can wind our way back through this unnamed metro station to arrive back at Georgetown, whereupon we can climb the escalator, walk through the parking lot, move down the alleyway, pass by our new favorite Mr. Handy to move back towards Foggy Bottom. But before going into Foggy Bottom, we can say goodbye to Georgetown with a brief montage of some of its best sights. back inside Foggy Bottom. We can pass through the turnstiles to arrive back on the waiting platform, cross it, move up the ramp past the other turnstiles, and navigate all the way to Dupont Circle. Now to cross this one off our list. But sadly, I'm all out of time. To find out what waits for us at Dupont Circle, be sure to subscribe and click that bell notification button. I publish new Fallout content on my channel each and every week. If you feel like you have subscribed but you're not getting your YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members and patrons on Patreon gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, and YouTube members get a little badge that appears next to their names in the comment sections of my videos, and access to ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and during my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.
Out!